All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. It's Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Coaster and Asbury Park Press by publication of the annual meeting notice and posted on the municipal bulletin board and municipal website. All notices are on file with the board's secretary. Official action may be taken on the following matters before the board. Fire exits are located on the east and west sides of the council chambers as well as the back of the building. I ask everyone with a cell phone to please mute it for the duration of this meeting. And this meeting is being recorded by APTV. Roll call, Mr. Serpico.
Call the roll of the members who are in attendance. Ben Harris.
Here.
Mr. Potter.
Here.
Christopher Avaloni.
Here.
John Scully.
Here.
Tim Slip.
Here.
Everyone else is absent. We have
3 members are absent. Natalie Passerini, Russell Lewis, and Wendy Glassman.
We have
So-
4.
Thank you. So it's just a quick housekeeping item. I make a motion to carry 1201 Bridge Street to October 8th, 2024 with new notice.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm sure the list of property owners is stale. It's probably from early last winter. It had to be 10 or 11 months out. Not only should they give new notice, but they should ask for a new list of property owners for the tax assessor.
Okay, understood.
Make that part of the motion if you don't mind.
Yes, as Mr. Serpico just listed.
Okay, so the motion is by Mr. Avaloni. Who's the second?
I'll second.
John Scully, second. Roll call. Dan?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Christopher?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So, first application we have tonight is 1102 Second Avenue.
We have, I reviewed the documents for jurisdictional purposes. We have jurisdiction to proceed in that matter.
Thank you, Jack. Mr. Tilton.
Good evening, Richard Tilton, Allenhurst, New Jersey. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Also with me is Mark Lutz, the applicant's contractor.
Sir, please raise your right hand. You're a witness. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about giving this matter the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Please state your name for the record and spell it.
Mark Lutz, L-U-T-Z.
And I'm going to swear in my staff in case they need to engage in any discussion. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about giving this matter the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your names and your affiliation with the board, please.
Don Miller, board planner.
Gerald Frida, board engineer.
Thank you. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay.
Mr.
Chair,
Tilton.
yes, good evening. Just a point of, the applicant, Ms. Wodila, she works and lives in Japan. So she lives here part-time. That's why she's not here tonight. So she's out of the country.
I see. That's interesting.
It is, yeah. So the application is for 1102 2nd Avenue. It's in your R1 single-family zone. The property is an existing non-conforming lot. It's a 2,500 square foot lot where 5,000 square feet is required. The existing principal structure is 13.95 feet to the right of way, where 25 feet is required. And I think that's what's really dictating a lot of the variance relief that's here. So the client had the entire property renovated. There was no change to the footprint, but during the course of the renovation, the sewer lateral had to be replaced. That required the foundation to be moved and the existing cement porch to be removed. And in its place is a new 6-foot porch. And the porch was installed without variance relief, like stipulate to that. And that's really the application. In putting the new porch in, it has pulled the structure back by 1.5 feet. So it's encroaching less than the pre-existing condition was. Attached to the application are photos of the property before and after. And I would ask that just the board to note that the The front door, everything about the building has stayed the same other than its new windows, etc. The steps, the front porch is above grade by about 4.5 feet. The steps have to be where they are, and the landing area has to be where it is in order to access the inside of the house. The porch is 6 feet wide. It's modest in size, and we're asking for variance relief for the front yard setback, and I don't know if the steps are required. The steps are only 1.5 feet from the right-of-way, where it used to be 0 feet. That's the application. I don't know if there's any questions
Mr. Lutz,
on it.
were you when you were in the construction of this new porch, were you aware of the setback requirement?
Well, they told me that I could just rebuild it in the exact same footprint.
Who
as it
told you?
was. Zoning, Mary Ann at zoning. I could only build it back in the exact same footprint, which made no sense.
I don't know that I could accept that without Mary Ann being here, so.
Yeah.
Do you have a
I'm not
permit
sure.
that specifically states that? Do you have anything that states that?
There's not a permit.
You have no
There's
permit?
permit, but I believe we do have something, yes. I don't
So
have a
can you
permit.
provide that to the board?
I could. Because I remember the existing footprint was,
So Mary Ann told you,
Oversized.
yeah, I mean, I don't understand.
All right. How we ended up here is there was a violation issued to my client by Mary Ann for construction without variance relief.
So why
So
would
then-
you
so
say
then-
it's okay?
Then they cannot give you approval.
Wait, Jack. So there's also a pending municipal court action, so I want to be careful about what's going on as far as testimony here.
Oh, so this is a little, what are we doing here?
No, so normally, when a violation is issued for zoning enforcement, they'll go to municipal court, the judge will say, you have an avenue
But they haven't said anything yet.
They have an avenue to resolve it by getting a variance, and we won't act until they've come here.
And that's how we're here. So I became involved when my client got a violation, and my client agreed to come here to get variance relief, and then to go to address the matter in municipal court. That's why we're here.
So you built it back to the same size, or you?
It's
No,
actually
it's
smaller.
smaller.
It's actually smaller.
I was allowed,
So
I was allowed to rebuild it
I'm
in the
really
exact same
confused.
footprint.
Mary Ann
that it
said
was.
to do it, and then.
No, she never said to do it. She said that I could do it if I filed the paperwork for that. But we didn't want to do that. It made no sense.
So I would like to see
It made no
what
sense.
paperwork you had
Okay.
received from Mary Ann.
What did you file with anything?
You have all permits. right?
Yeah, the whole house, all
The
permits
whole
for
house.
everything.
So you filed it with her, whatever you're gonna bring back to us, will depict that it's actually smaller?
Yeah,
or less-
I definitely have
less-
something that
Let me
said.
finish. No,
Go ahead.
Please, don't talk over me. A less non-conformity than you had in the beginning. You were set back 6 feet, now you're set approximately 6 feet, now you're set back 7 feet. Is that the testimony?
It was more, now it's a lot less.
Well, let's call it less. I don't know if it's a lot less.
It's
Almost 2 feet.
yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever the number is, it is.
In my defense, it started off as a temporary structure, so she had something to get in and out of. Then I put the temporary railings, I might as well put up nice railings until we went to get a variance. That's how it started.
And that's how
She
we're-
had to have something to get in and out of the house. This process took 9 months to get here.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, she's always gonna need variance relief, like anyone on this block, the whole, and Donna couldn't, I talked to her.
What are you trying to say, Mr. Tilton?
I'm trying to say that she would always need variance relief for any replacement of steps, the porch. The house itself, Mr. Chair, the principal structure is encroaching into the right-of-way. It's only 13.9 feet off of the right-of-way, where it's not encroaching to the right-of-way. The setback of the house is 13.95 feet from the right-of-way.
But we didn't alter location.
We did
of
not.
the
We
building.
totally did not.
Okay.
The building is the building,
But
but
it includes part of a formerly open.
correct, absolutely does, which none of us know when that porch was enclosed, right? I mean, we totally don't. But Mr. Chair, the fact of the matter is, if you look at the elevation of the house, you always need stairs to get into this house. You always do. You're always gonna need variance relief.
That's
And
not-
our ordinance permits the steps
Right,
to
to-
approach into the front yard setback. I would also offer that the way the ordinance is written, if this were a roofed porch, conventional roofed porch, like we all have, more or less, it would not be in violation of the front yard setback. We permit roofed open porches to extend into the required front yard setback. The
So-
difficulty with this one is, A, no roof, and B, part of the former open porch is enclosed in part of the building envelope.
I see.
Like, you look at the houses next door, right?
Okay.
There's more porch than this one has, right? And so that's sort of the difficulty here. If they put a roof on this, I would almost say that the zoning office would probably lean toward, it's okay. Because it's permitted encroachment into the.
But that doesn't help us now, Donna, so,
I understand. What they have is a deck,
right, I get it.
and part of the house encroaches into the front yard setback more than its neighbors because of that part that got enclosed.
Right.
But however long ago.
I understand.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But to Mr. Tilton's statement about anything they do needs a variance, not 100%.
Well, I don't mean to mislead the
It
board.
was.
It's not, I'm not even trying to mislead the board. The fact of the matter is, yeah,
But
the
it
house
is
is,
difficult, yes.
it's difficult. The house is only 14 feet off the right of way. You're always gonna have to access the porch. And you would have to remove the entire porch. Right now, she replaced it with it's a 6 foot wide porch. It's a modest porch. It's smaller than the porch that was there. The prior porch also had a pergola, that was removed. So if you look at photo 1 of 6 of the packet, you'll see there was a whole structure on the front, pergola structure that's been removed. And in its place is a smaller porch. It's 6 foot wide. In order to be anything usable, it has to be 6 foot wide. And so that would be my point. In order to have anything there, a porch of any size being replaced, it would warrant variance relief, a trip here to the board.
What is the setback now? I know you said it's a lot less, and
It's
our
not-
attorney said
I
less.
mean, relatively speaking, it's a lot less because there's not much to work with. The encroachment has been decreased by my count. I'm not that great at math. They sent me to law school by 1.55 feet less.
So explain to me why you didn't come to the board first.
Mr. Lutz just explained it to you. Like in the course of construction, the entire porch had to be removed. There was a cement porch, Mr. Chair, cinder block, old, big red masonry porch that was there.
I guess you can't see that picture.
Can't see it in the picture.
Bright red.
Bright red. If you look at the packet, if you look at photos page 4, 5, and 6 of the application, the packet, you can see that the sewer lateral had to be replaced. The only way, the property's only 25 feet wide. The only way to do that was through the front of the house, was under a masonry structure that had to be removed. The house, it was entirely ripped off, Mr. Chair. And in its place, Mr. Lutz described, a temporary porch was installed with the fitting, and then they decided to just move ahead and build the 6 foot wide.
Who decided?
My client did, ultimately. It was her decision.
Your client who's not here, right?
Say again?
Your client who's not here to testify on her behalf?
I'm sorry, I
said
can't hear you.
Japan.
She's in
Japan.
Japan. She's in Japan, and I don't know whether she'd even be back here next month. She goes to Sharon for extended periods of time. That was also kind of what slowed the whole application process down. But I represent that my client was not trying to be surreptitious about something. She knew that she would have to do this, and that's here we are. There was a whole, I don't want to really get into it because Mary Ann's not here, and there's going to be a municipal court proceeding after this, after we meet with you, but we did agree to come to this board to make the case for variance, really.
But you don't have a very big case, Mr. Tilton.
Well, I don't know what to say, Mr. Chair, like, the only way that
You're just saying it's there.
Well, the only
We
way.
put it there.
The only way we can address it would be to rip the porch
This is-
off.
this
I
is
mean,
a
it's
tech-
crazy.
This
This
is
is crazy.
I've been bothered about this for 40
Me too.
years. Crazy. This whole technical variance. You're making a non-conformity more conforming. Remember that. By moving the porch to where it is, you're putting it closer to compliance with the zoning ordinance than previously existed. The only reason you need the variance is because the law says anytime you ask a municipality or a board to deviate from the required standards, it requires a variance. Think about it. You're making it more conforming, but you're still being asked for a change. It's not the 25 feet. You're not going to ever see 25 feet setback because you'd have to move the house. And then it wouldn't be in conformity with the rest of the houses in the neighborhood from the photographs that I looked at. So I always try to get everyone to understand that conceptually what we're doing. That's all. That's the point. It's a technical variance, only required, even though you're making it, quote, a better conforming situation than it was previously. Okay? You're only making it a variance because you're actually going to, when you vote, deviate from the standard. That's it. It's that simple.
My concern is, Mr. Lutz, is when you met with Mary Ann, she said that if you rebuild it the same, you'd have to go in front of the board.
The
for
same
variance.
concrete, same
Right.
everything. I could
So what
repair
made
it.
you think that if you did it
I did it, it was a big
smaller-
square like this, I chopped.
No.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You got it, you're not listening to the
Okay.
questions. You start to talk before they finish. The only way you're gonna know what he's saying and what he's asking you is until he's finished talking.
Okay.
So just relax, we're good. Take our
Thanks,
time,
Jack.
we'll get there.
Thanks, Jack.
Just let him finish his question, you'll get your chance, we'll be good.
So you said earlier that Mary Ann told you that if you wanted to rebuild it in the same footprint, you'd have to come in front of the board and get a variance. That's what I'm confused
Well, we can't
on.
really take testimony of what Mary Ann said.
Right,
So,
but I'm confused as to what you knew
So
and what you didn't.
Mary Ann's not here, we have to negate that whole concept. Unless you can produce paperwork that tells us exactly what she wanted. So,
So, if I can explain one thing. I had to demo half of the porch down. So I was allowed to build it right back up in the exact same position that it was and would have been fine. But it was so dismantled that it didn't make any sense. So I took it upon myself to move it back.
And you showed that to Mary Ann?
So wait a minute.
Yeah,
what do
but-
you-
Like to make it
But-
smaller,
yes,
you
but she
presented
said I
that
would
to
need a
her.
variance.
And then at that point, did she give you a permit or an email or something that says you have to go
I have a
ahead to?
denial saying that I can't build it to the 6 foot, but I could have built it in the same exact, I could have rebuilt it in the same
we
position.
still can't accept any
Okay.
testimony about what Mary Ann may or
Okay.
not said.
Did she give you any type of paperwork
Paperwork.
that permitted
Yes, I
any of
I
it?
have the failed application. I believe I have.
The permit?
The failed application to rebuild it to the 6 foot.
It was, yes.
But then you went ahead and built it anyway.
Yes.
Yes.
That's why we're here. It's stipulated, that's why we're here. Like, nothing, the underlying is not going to change anything, Mr. Chair. It's not. The board needs to consider the variance, really, that's being requested. As Mr. Soperville pointed out, it's actually a better condition that pre-existed. Does it make it right or does it make it wrong? I don't know. It's what it is. It is what it is. There's nothing more that the applicant could do other than rip the porch off the house. That's all they could do, sir. Or push the house back. It's impossible. If I thought, you know me, Mr. Chair, if I thought there was some give or take, I would be given and taken. There's nothing to do. There's nothing we can do, any of us.
Well, there is.
I mean, you could make us rip the porch off. That's what
The
you could
problem the
do,
board,
Ms. Potter,
I
that's
think,
what
is
you could
faced
do.
with is this application is probably the 5th in the last year that's come before us that has done something without permission. And it's plaguing the city.
Unfortunately, that's been a municipality and your zoning enforcement. This board is the zoning board, like you're to deliberate over variance relief and whether you can or can't grant it within the confines of your ordinance, your master plan, the existing conditions, the neighborhood, and I dare say that you can. And there's nothing that this applicant can do to mitigate or reduce anything more. There's nothing more that can be done. Right, wrong, or indifferent, Mr. Chair, Ms. Potter, right, wrong, or indifferent. There is nothing that we can do other than to ask the board to vote for the variance relief, yes or no. And then if you say no, then we take this to the 10th degree. And I understand your point. I recognize your point. I don't like sitting here. This is not how I would operate. It's not. It's not how it, but it's the way it happened. It's the way it unfolded. You could see the whole porch was ripped off. It was, that's where it got started.
How much of a delay would there have been if you had come before us up front, before you did the
If we came
work?
to the board, that's a good question. If we came to the board up front, it would probably look exactly like what's in front of you.
But how much,
Exactly what's in front of you.
okay, but how much of a delay would it have been for the completion of the job?
I'm sorry?
How much of a delay would that have been for the
Well,
completion of the job?
I would say,
Can't say.
okay, here's what I can tell
Only
you.
agency.
Here's
Well,
what
that's what I'm
I,
It's a
asking.
contract.
well, what I can say, I want to answer that. No, I can answer this. I can answer it, Jack. If you look at the photos that are appended to the application, those photos were taken by me. There's snow on the ground. It's June. The application was filed at the very beginning of January by me, January 4th. And today is June... what's
11th.
today? June 11th. That's what it would have been, 6 months. And sir, it would be the identical application that's in front of you. The 6-foot porch, I don't know how much smaller it could be. 7 steps to get into the front of the house, it would look like this. And look, I know it's better to ask ahead of time, like I do, but this is where we are. And so we're looking for the board to give us the variance relief, I guess, or not. Like, and if the answer is not, then I'm not really sure where we go. Well, actually, I know where we go. And it's just, right? It's just the theater of the absurd is where we go.
But I think the absurdity to me is that you have a professional contractor here that Mr. Lutz, you do a lot of work in Asbury, correct?
Yeah.
And so
Probably.
you made the decision.
Go ahead.
You made the decision to go forward without coming to the board as a professional contractor. So as much as the absurdity is of if we deny this, the absurdity to me is that you have a professional contractor who made a conscious decision not to come in front of the board.
It was,
I mean,
Keep in mind, that's being taken care of.
it is by the judge. Sorry,
That's being
Jack.
taken care of over in municipal.
It's my mind.
That's a different body of law. That's a violation that's existing, that's over in the court. What the judge does based on that is fine. My task is to decide whether or not they've offered proofs sufficient enough to bring the variance. We don't decide whether or not they should have, could have, or would have. That's for the municipal court judge to take care of.
So you don't have anything from Mary Ann that, like an email or,
We're going back to this.
I'm sorry, is that
I'm sorry.
annoying you?
It's not. We've been through this, though. He's already told you he does not, Jill. I'm sorry.
No. We had confusing testimony about that. He said he has a denial,
And earlier he
which
said
means he was
he
about to
had
make an
something.
application. So I'm curious, and I am going against my better judgment, or no, I'm sticking with my better judgment, aren't I? Is what I think happened may be that they applied for a zoning permit to do the house renovation. And they have permission to renovate it as long as everything is where it was originally. The scope of the work changed for him with that sewer connection, which caused demolition of the porch. That would have required a permit update. And that That may be where Mary Ann triggered the, no, you have denial now, I can't, you've demolished the porch. You know, the only way to do this is, you know, going to trigger the variance aspect. They're in the middle of construction, he can't just.
But see, you're testifying right now,
Yeah, you're
Donna.
giving-
No,
You're-
right,
you're-
I'm
and what-
providing an example.
I know,
So-
but.
But they should be given the example.
But my point is that they're handling it administratively the way they need to. He's coming on his path, which is to try and get a variance.
Actually, I think it would have been more appropriate if the applicant was here herself, Mr. Tilton.
That, she's in Japan.
I understand
So,
that,
I
but
could-
can I finish, please?
Sure, yes, of course.
Having no testimony from your applicant to corroborate what Mr. Lutz is saying, and to corroborate the fact that she went downtown and tried to figure this out for herself, is difficult for us. Do you understand what I'm saying, Mr.
I
Tilton?
absolutely understand
So
what
not
you're saying.
having her present is difficult all around. And we should have known that before we scheduled you, that she would not be attending this
Okay.
application
All right.
meeting.
That's fair, but I don't think she's gonna give you anything. We stipulate.
Are you speaking for her, Mr. Tilton?
I am, actually.
Who went down and made the application for the permit? You or the client?
I did.
Did the client go down, come to City Hall at any time
I
and
bel- I-
discuss anything?
I think she just stopped in there to see what she could do.
You had the
But
discussions,
I did all the paperwork.
you had the discussions with the zoning officer?
Yes.
You filled out the application for the
Yep.
permit?
All of it,
You have the relevant knowledge as to how this all went?
yes.
This occurred? Okay.
So the applicant was not involved at all, is that correct?
Yeah, I would say no. She didn't file any paperwork. We filed all the paperwork.
Did you discuss this with her prior to her going to Japan?
We sent it off to her to sign off, probably. DocuSign.
Do you have any record of that?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a record of that, like to present to the board?
We have a really hard time hearing you.
Do you have a record of that to give to us?
I would have to look up the paperwork. I'm sure we do. That's the only way we got her to sign, because you have to sign the zoning application.
I too would feel better if the lady was here
Right.
to speak for herself,
Okay,
because we're getting everything through two people, okay? And with her not being here, we still don't get, I don't have a clear picture of what happened. Obviously, you did make a slight improvement by making the porch 6 feet, okay? So you're less in violation, and I understand that's why you need the variance. But we also many times need the person who is the owner of the property here to tell us, okay? That's the problem, okay? And to how I feel, it must have not been important enough for her to be here. And it's very important for her to be here because she owns a house.
okay. So if you need to hear from her, that's fine. We can, I guess we'll carry the hearing, but I don't even know to what date. I don't know. I would have to check with her to
If
see.
you don't know
I
the
mean,
date, then you're gonna have to re-advertise.
Yeah. Well, what's the next hearing date?
The end of June?
End of
Is she gonna be here the end of June?
I don't know. Can we, if we carry it to the end of June, then if she's not, then I can come back and ask for it to be carried again. If they need her testimony, if that's going to be dispositive of this, because I guess I'm repeating myself.
Okay.
There's nothing that's gonna change about this.
It's the solution, I would recommend the solution.
Okay,
If we carry it to 2 weeks from tonight, without further notice, you have to come back with the client,
Right.
and you have to come back with the paperwork that you submitted to prove your case.
Okay.
To show what happened to you, so the board has a complete understanding,
Okay.
that's fine.
okay?
Can I just say one thing? This started off with that porch being deconstructed because of the sewer running through it.
Yeah,
By the time we got down 6 feet to where the sewer was, there was really nothing left of this porch to reconstruct. And that's why this happened like, whenever it was, a year and a half ago. She we got all our final permits and moved her in September. So it would have been from last September to now before she got this variance. So by me building that temporary, which started off as a temporary porch, would have got her to this point.
You need to bring your, as I said,
Okay.
you still need to bring your paperwork back to give the board a complete story.
Okay.
And then the board's job is to decide the variance case.
Jack, I have a question. What's the meeting, like is there a meeting like 4 weeks from now?
So there's June 25th and then July 9th.
Yeah, the difficulty is that Marie isn't here, so I
Right.
can't tell you that we can put you on any agenda, because I don't know what the agendas are. She knows the applications, but
Okay.
I don't know what's.
And there's one thing already on.
Yeah,
Oh,
so.
for what,
we-
John, July 9th or,
25th.
oh, June 25th?
June, the 2 weeks from tonight, whatever that is.
Okay.
We'll get that to you, but we can carry it to then, and then you let us know. And then if she's not, we're not gonna carry it 2 weeks,
Right.
you're gonna have to come back with a date for us that she's gonna be in the country,
Right.
when we can be heard. I'm gonna ask you to waive the time within which we have to act.
course.
So we don't get an automatic approval. And then we'll set a date, time, and place. If it's relatively close, you may not have to renotice. If it's a few months down the road, you're gonna have to renotice.
Okay. So we'll be back on June 25th. I don't know if my client will be
Well,
with me.
that's what you're gonna let us know.
I will
Yeah.
let you know. I will let you know. And then if I have to come on the 25th, I don't need to carry it again, then
Well,
I
you'll
will.
let us know. They may not have to make an appearance, you just have
Okay.
to let us know.
Okay,
And we'll consider the matter and do that.
okay,
Is that okay with the board?
Yeah, that
Yes.
works.
okay, great.
Okay,
Yes.
so I need a motion.
So I'll make a motion to carry 1102 Second Avenue to June 25th, 2024 without further notice.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members board, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So you know what to do.
Yes, thanks, Donna.
Yes, I make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, hearing none, ayes have it.
Should we get restarted again, Mr. Serpico?
Let's call the meeting to order.
All right.
Okay, call the roll. Dan Harris.
Here.
Mike Potter.
Here.
Christopher Evans.
Here.
John Scully and Tim Slick.
Here.
Everyone's here.
All right. Let's move on. 1217 4th Avenue.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
I'll speak with you.
My name is George McGill. I'm an attorney. I represent John Lee Antonio. John's a MD, so he's Dr. Lee Antonio. If we're going to be formal, property is 1217 4th Avenue. We're here tonight to seek a variance for a pool, in the front yard. And by the ordinance, it is in the front yard. But this property is such that the structure, the principal dwelling, is all the way to the rear. And it does look like it was a garage apartment at some time, and I did read in Donna's letter that there doesn't seem to have been a front structure, and I agree with that. I was on the aerials too. So I don't know how this came to be, but it does look that way. In any event, we have a house that's all the way back. It's 2.2 feet off your property line. So any place that a pool would go, anything at all on this property is in the front yard because it's all front yard. So we're asking for that variance. During the application process, there were a couple other variances called out, one for a patio deck that is between the garage and the principal structure. And that goes back to the rear lot line. And we would ask the board if you would let us have a variance to continue along essentially the rear facade of the building, not to go all the way back to the lot line, but essentially along, from, I'm not going to testify, but along, continue the line of the dwelling across, put a patio there. We're going to have a fence behind that because we require a fence. If you allow us to have a pool, we'll have a fence running along the rear lot line. And late in the game, the issue of a shed came up, and I was at the property. I didn't even see the shed, but it is in one of the photographs. That's going away, to get rid of the shed, so we'll stipulate to that, and we don't have to ask for relief from that.
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed the notices, we have jurisdiction to proceed.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jack.
Glad we have jurisdiction, that was 5 minutes.
You would have lost your whole monologue there.
You're doing so well.
Once I got on the roll, I've never offended, so.
Well, no, I would have stepped in at some point between now and then.
So I have John Lee Antonio here with me. He's the owner of the property. And Bill Jensen, he's the engineer. We have some engineering drainage issues that he'll talk about. But first, I would just like to have John sworn in, and we can go over the application.
Sir, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name for the record and spell it.
Sure, it's John Lee Antonio, Liantonio.
You are one of the property owners or one of the...
I'm
Okay.
sole property owner.
I'm going to swear in my staff as well. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your names for the record and your affiliation with the board.
Donna Miller, board planner.
Gerald Frida, board engineer.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Jack. John, you have just stated you're the owner of the property, and you heard me say that we're looking for a variance for a pool. Is that your understanding why we're here?
Yes.
All right, so you're a little nervous, I understand.
Yeah, I'm a little
So
nervous.
I've told you to loosen up a
Different
little
from
bit.
me.
but-
We don't bite, Dr. Lee Antonio, much.
I don't know about that.
So.
You're
as
here, that's
the-
a good thing.
Yes.
I submitted an application, and the application had photographs. So let's go over the photographs in the application, and thereby we'll describe
Hold
the,
on a second,
yeah.
Mr. Jordan. You have the photos that he's referring to?
We do.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, since we're going to testify even as part of the application, let's make your photos A1.
These are the application photos?
Okay, that's, can you submit that to the board?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, so let's make that A1.
Okay, so the whole board's A1.
Yeah, photo board is
All right.
A1.
And my legal assistant, who's also my wife, glued them on, so you may have to
You can point to.
So, well, everybody has them in
Yes.
the application. So, so John, your property is on the north side of 4th Avenue, right?
Yes.
So if you look at it, the right side is to the east
Yes.
and the left side is to the west.
Yes.
All right, so those are leading questions. So-
Yes.
But so when we look at this first photograph in the application, what does it show us?
It shows the house, which is pretty far set back on the property. It's all the way to the very end of the property, the northwest corner. You see the fence in the front. You see a driveway on the west side that runs the whole length of the property. On the east side are a group of trees, which provides quite a bit of cover.
So let's go to the next photograph.
If I may, did you take this photo?
I did not.
Who did?
Georgia.
George. Oh, that's fine.
I took it.
These are an accurate depiction of the property on the date that you...
Solemnly swear that they are.
On your oath as an attorney?
Yes.
All right, okay, you're good. You had to lay a foundation there. George understands.
I appreciate
How
that.
long have you owned this property, Dr. Lee Antonio?
I bought the house in, I want to say October or November of 2019,
Okay, right before the pandemic?
or before the pandemic.
Sorry.
I fell in love with it because of the way it was set up. I thought it was really unique.
So you like the fact that it was all front yard?
I loved that. It was very private. It was very quiet, off the street. It was really, really nice.
Go
So,
on.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair. Okay.
please proceed.
So when we're looking at the second photograph here, that shows what looks like trees and hedges. Can you describe that for me?
Yeah, so there's a large group of cedar trees that are in the kind of middle of the property between the street and the end of the property. The prior owner really liked bamboo, so we have quite a bit of bamboo that actually really helps to provide quite a bit of privacy, which is really nice. You can see the fence on the west side along the driveway that kind of leads up to the property.
So is this a fair representation of the density of that? It's a vegetation, but,
Yeah.
so you can't, can you see through that?
No, you can't.
Can you see through it from the other side out? Can you see
No, you
through-
can't.
Okay.
Which was part of the appeal, it was very private.
It's all bamboo?
It's some bamboo. It's pretty crazy, the bamboo. It's like out of control. But yeah, it's bamboo and then cedar trees.
And you intend to keep that?
Yes,
As a
absolutely.
buffer?
Mm-hmm.
So you would stipulate that you would maintain that as it is, at its density, whether it's bamboo or something else that you put in there?
It was like that from 2019, and that's how we're going to continue to keep it private.
Okay, so if you decide to take the bamboo out, you would put something else in that would make it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. I don't know, so bamboo tends to spread, right? So the next photograph, managed to get into the application upside down. We managed to get it right side up here, but if we just jump over that and look at the fourth photograph, it's the same angle. What does that show?
That shows the bamboo and the fence line in front of it, and the trees.
And where's that looking from?
That is looking from the street facing the property. It's the east side of the property.
And we go to the next photograph. What does this show?
And this is looking out from the backyard to the front of the property, so you can see the trees and the bamboo through there. On the right side of the photo is the driveway. In the front of it is where the grass is and where the proposed pool is.
And there's a stockade fence along the westerly edge. Is that yours?
Yeah, we had to replace the fence after we moved in. It was in really, really bad shape, so we had a permit to replace all the fence.
And there seems to be that little shed in the approximate center of the photograph.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
And you're going to eliminate that.
Happy to take that down if that's an issue.
Okay. So in this photograph, can you tell us where the pool's going to be located?
Yeah, the pool would be essentially in the center of the grass.
Can you show it on one of the photographs,
Yeah,
Dr.
can you
Lee?
point to it?
Yeah. Essentially right in here, this area.
Would it disrupt those two mounds? Like, are those to be removed or
No, that's
anything?
gonna stay, it's gonna be further up.
And the other one in the center, that little garden will stay there?
That's gonna go.
That will, okay,
It's a hydrangea, we're gonna try to transplant it, is the plan.
just to get the idea where it's landing.
It's
Okay.
really pretty, I wanna keep it if we can.
I have a question about your plantings along the fence.
Please,
Are those staying or going?
those are staying.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just trying to understand
Yeah.
the green buffering, that's all.
Yep. We actually put those in as a hope, as a hope to have some extra privacy. They've actually grown quite a bit since we've planted them in. We actually did them with our neighbors in the intention of helping with the privacy because we could see right into their kind of kitchen. So it kind of helps to give a little bit of extra privacy for all of us. So that was our plan with that from the start.
The fence on the easterly side, is that yours as well?
Yes,
And that's new as well?
yes.
All right. So in that photograph that we're looking at, the neighbor to the east, will the pool be behind that, next to it, in front of it?
It will be behind their house.
I have to ask it that way so it's
Yes.
not leading. And how
Yep.
about the other house?
It will be behind that house as well.
Okay. So if we go to the next photograph, which is right here, that shows what?
That shows the property's deck.
And that's the, where is that deck located?
In the back of the property, east of the house.
Is it between the house and the garage?
Yes.
Okay. And we have discussed this deck, right?
Yep.
And how did this deck get constructed?
We put the deck in ourselves
When?
back in 2020.
This is my last page.
And was during the pandemic?
Yes,
Okay. And who put it in?
I did.
And did you
And
have
my
any?
partner. Put it together.
What's your partner's name?
His name's Nick Strather.
Okay. And he's here with us tonight, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
All right.
That's him right there, yeah.
All right, so you understand that the deck was constructed essentially to the property line and maybe actually a little bit over the rear property line?
Yeah.
And you realize that that's an encroachment into the rear yard. You're supposed to have 5 feet there?
No.
Yes.
And you will comply with whatever you need to comply with, is that correct?
100%. Anything we need to do to get into compliance.
But you would ask this board to allow you to have the patio up to the rear facade of the house
I would.
and essentially going over to the garage?
Yes.
Okay. And we also discussed the fencing for your property, right?
Yes.
And you understand if you have a pool, you're going to have the property entirely fenced in,
Yes.
and it's going to have to be code compliant.
Yep.
So you intend to fence in the entire lot,
Yep.
including the rear?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the things that was mentioned in our planner's report was that you intend not to put in a patio around the pool, is that correct?
Yeah, no, we're not planning on putting any patio in.
I just want you to go on record, Dr. Leantonio, that you will not put in a patio.
100% that's not gonna happen, yeah. It's, all that's planned for is 12 inches of coping around the pool structure.
12 inches of what?
I think it's called coping, pool coping, that goes around the border of the pool.
Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, we're not planning on putting any other patio in.
Could you do me a favor?
Please.
On the 6th photo,
Yes.
yep, whereabouts, if it can be shown in that photo, would the pool be?
Like the very front of it, probably.
And then it goes towards the little garage? It comes out this way?
Towards the front.
Got it, okay.
So it's moving more towards the front
Of the property?
Yes.
of the property.
Yes.
I have a question. Your setback from the street, though, it looks like it's 87.7 feet from the street to the edge of the pool. Because that's pretty far back.
Yeah.
From the street. so-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Where do you plan to put all your mechanicals?
For the pool?
Yes.
They're gonna be, the plan is to have that, I'm gonna show the picture, if that's okay, within the trees.
Within the trees?
Yeah.
And is that really close to somebody's home?
Closer to your neighbor,
It
to
would
the
be
west?
close to their home. But it's gonna be in compliance of the 5-foot setback. Is that right? That's right.
Well, we'll have your engineer
They'll speak to that, yeah.
testify to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're intending to put the equipment in a conforming location. So you would buffer it in any way that,
Covered, quiet, I don't wanna hear it, they don't wanna hear it, no one wants to hear it, it'll be nice and pretty. It'll look good.
and the final photograph that we have up there, that just shows the rear of your dwelling, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so essentially, you're going to continue that concrete along the rear?
Yep.
All right. Okay. And the last photograph, yes, it's right here. In the last photograph in the packet, that just shows the principal dwelling, the patio, and the garage.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I did have extra photographs that just show that the neighbor to the east and neighbor to the west, their houses were up on the street. I don't think I need to belabor that point by handing them out, but if you would like to see them, I will hand them out.
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Make the whole packet 8 to,
Jack, there's 2 photos.
okay?
And John, would you look at the first photo here? What does that show?
That's across the street, so that would be the south end of 4th Avenue, and it's looking out at my property, which is 1217, and my neighbors, which is 1215.
1215 is to the east, right?
Yes.
What does the next photograph show?
That shows the house, I don't know the address, but that's the house to the west of us, and that's on Bridge Street,
Okay.
and that's the back of their house.
All right. And this actually depicts the conditions that exist today, except there's probably leaves.
It's a little prettier this time of year. Yes.
Okay. All right, if I could, I'll hand these out. Okay. we could mark that one. Yeah.
That's now.
Okay, thank you. So the pool can go here.
So your house is sort of like a gated house, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's like
unusual.
a carriage house type of thing, if you will.
This one.
So John, just for the record, you heard me say that there's no place but the front yard on your property to put a pool, is that correct?
Correct, there's nowhere else to put.
Okay. That's, Mr. Chairman, all I have for Dr. Lee Antonio. Of course, the board has questions or the public.
Anyone have any further questions for Dr. Lee Antonio?
Are you the one that's gonna describe the pool, or
I think the engineer will do
the
that.
engineer will do that? Okay.
Do you want to?
I can describe it as best I can.
Did you pick it out?
I picked it out, yeah.
That's what you chose.
All right. So it's 9.5 feet wide by 23 long. I think as far deep as it goes is 5 feet. It starts at 4 feet to 5 feet. It's more of a cocktail pool, if you will.
Like a waiter.
Waiting.
A wading pool, that sounds better, yeah. It's a wading pool.
And it's a rectangle?
It's a rectangle.
Okay.
And this is in the ground?
In the ground, yes.
Concrete,
Fiberglass.
fiberglass.
Oh, I do have another question, I'm sorry. You live here full-time?
I don't live here full-time, but that will be, I just actually today signed a contract. I'm actually starting to work at Jersey Shore in October.
Where do you work now?
In Philadelphia, Jefferson, in Center City, Philly.
So you got,
So when will you be full-time?
My contract says October 7th, so
Okay. And then do you primarily reside here, or do you rent the house out?
we don't rent the house out, no. It's
You
just
don't
us.
rent it out?
Mm-mm. Nope, it's just us.
Okay.
So you reside in Philadelphia now?
I'm in Philadelphia, yeah. We kind of split our time between Philadelphia and Asbury. And it's going to be going more towards the Asbury side shortly.
you're not going to be commuting from
Yeah.
Neptune to Philadelphia, right?
From Neptune to Asbury, I will, but that's not to Philadelphia. Weekends here
So
and
no
there.
Airbnb, VRBOs, Mr.
Nope.
So presently you're a resident of Philadelphia?
I'm a resident of Philadelphia, yes. Yep.
Go Eagles.
Go Birds.
Any further questions for Dr. Lee Antonio? Board professionals?
Thank you.
Anyone in the public? Wait 1 second, Dr. Lee Antonio. Anyone in the public for Dr. Lee Antonio's testimony? Please come up, state your name.
Yes, please state your name and your address.
Sure. I'm loud, I don't need to bend over. My name is Britta Ipri, and I live at 1215 4th Avenue, next door neighbors to John and Nick.
Okay. Question?
We just want to say that we support their application.
Oh, no, not yet.
Not yet.
No,
Sorry, questions.
this is only questions.
Questions.
Okay.
No,
Cross-examination.
Okay. Please.
just for his testimony, only questions regarding his
Oh, so I
testimony.
have questions regarding it?
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll have an opportunity to make a
Not
comment.
yet, no.
There's a whole procedure for this.
She's eager. Appreciate it.
So, thank you, Dr. Lee Antonio. You're
Thank you very much.
excused.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call Bill Jensen, the engineer.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name for the record and give us a
Yeah,
quick rundown of your professional licensure.
sure. William E. Jensen Jr., professional engineer in the state of New Jersey,
J-E-N.
SEN. I testified in front of this board, but I think it's been a year or two.
Okay.
I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, licensed for almost 20 years.
Okay.
Thank you. We accept your credentials, Mr. Jensen.
Thank you.
Bill, why don't you take the board through your plans? You designed the plans, right?
Yes.
All right, now this is an aerial, I think we'll need to have this marked.
A3, please, today's date. Thank you.
This tells us whether there was a front house or not.
Honestly, I don't know where this is going.
Just kind of to show the board, there was a lot of testimony about location of the adjacent houses. This is the neighbor to the east. This is where their front house, this is where their house is. The neighbor to the west, the house is in this area with the trees. The pool would be in this area here.
Looks like there's a lot of other pools in the area, huh, Bill?
Correct. So kind of like in line, but it is behind the adjacent house, as testified before. I can go, we have the detailed plan. This is the actual plan that was submitted.
Okay, we'll make that, how about A4? Please.
Now, as described before, the pool will meet the side yard setbacks required. Same with the filter, which is up in front. The filter location is behind the adjacent house and almost near where the existing shed is that is hidden from our field. The entire property will have the pool compliant fence. And it was brought up before, the front half of the property, almost exactly right in the middle, drains towards the street. The rear half of the property drains towards the back. And as part of the application, we're proposing to put a yard inlet in between the dwelling and a detached structure that will collect the water, any water from the rear part of the property that can get there, especially around the pool, and will be piped up to the front. And as recommended by the board professionals, they're gonna put like a 30-foot recharge stone area to a pop-up emitter in the front yard, and also to direct the piping around the vegetated areas as best possible. So we don't
Is this what we were discussing, Mr. Frieda?
Yes.
And also to address some drainage concerns, I know the applicant was trying to ask for some relief from providing a pre and post drainage calculations, as we're going to be collecting the roof leaders from the detached structure and directing it into the yard inlet. So it's 263 square feet of runoff that will now be going up to the front and recharge.
That's appreciated. Stormwater management is one of our big deals here.
The dwelling, however, the leaders are in the front left near the property line and the back right. So the existing driveway is actually in the way of piping it to the structure and the deck itself. So we asked if it was okay if, we haven't heard any drainage issues. The applicant indicated they haven't had any neighbors complain about the existing conditions. And so we just asked for some relief from having to try to pipe those downspouts in the dwelling into the inlet itself. But like I said before, the detached structure, we will have that, the inlets in the front, the roof leaders in the front, that we can get into the proposed yard inlet.
Jerry, is there any other way we could address the other?
There's really no room. It's really tight up against the property line, both the rear and side yard. You'd almost be doing more harm than good to try to connect those leaders. And if there's no known problem at this time.
Okay.
Just so that the board's more comfortable, the yard inlet that we are proposing is actually a few inches lower than the grades along the property. So theoretically, everything on the property should go to that area as the grade builds up. So it's we're improving the existing conditions that's there. And the pool, as was testified, the coping, it's a foot coping, it's about 63 square feet. And all the grading around the pool will be directed to go into the inlet as well.
What's the distance from the wood deck to the edge of the pool and coping? Roughly?
I believe it's, I can tell you exactly. So the pool water is about 14 feet, so say 13 feet to the coping.
To the
Or
coping,
decking.
from the wood decking?
Correct.
Okay.
The detached structure is a little farther back.
So 13 feet, got it. Thank you.
You said the grading around the pool is all going to
It's-
come towards the right of way?
It actually, it's going to be directed towards the yard inlet that we're proposing.
Okay.
It's pretty much 70 to 75 feet from the property line is where the grades, it's like a high point. So the front area of the property goes towards the street, but the back end goes towards the back and like the lower area. It's really flat yard. So we're trying to promote water to go to the inlet, to go out to the street.
Okay. And do you have to raise the elevation of the pool, or is it flat
No,
enough that?
we're actually lowering some of the property to get that to work. So the pool elevation will be elevation 21. I think the adjacent grade and everything, some areas are 21 down to 20.8. So we're putting like a little high point, low point at the pool, 28. So the grade will swell around to the inlet, which is at 18.5.
And there won't be a low point towards the neighbor?
No, the neighbor's property is high, it's at 19,
Okay.
19.8, I believe. So we're containing it, we're making everything stay on the property and trying to go to the street,
Okay.
into the curb line of the street.
What was the thought process for the position of the pool equipment? Did you choose that location based on the pool itself, or?
I believe there was conversations with the pool company, the homeowner, and being near the shed, that's the only.
And where's the electrical coming from?
The electric would be coming from, I'm not sure where the meter is, but it would be from the structure, it's not gonna be coming directly from the street. So I'm not 100% sure where the electrical is. It would be from the main structure, I'm sure.
That'll be underground.
Yes.
On that map,
Yes.
on the, not the map, but the picture there, where to the west is the sorry,
The neighbor's
east, to the east by the mechanicals?
So,
Where's the neighbor's house roughly situated?
can
I know it's more towards the front, but what's roughly the distance away from the neighbors?
So from the corner of the house, say diagonally, would be like 10 feet from the corner of the house.
And how far is the pool equipment from the actual pool?
I think that is also 10 feet.
10 feet.
It's 10 feet to the water line, yes. So it's pretty much in the middle. Just the code requires 6 feet minimum.
For the property line?
From the pool equipment to be near pool water.
What about for the
Also,
property
yeah,
line?
Property line 6 feet as well. Sorry, 5 feet.
5 feet.
5 feet. So we're meeting the side yard setbacks for the pool and the filter.
Any further testimony, Mr. Jensen?
I could answer any questions, but I have nothing further.
I'm just concerned about the neighbors and the pool noise, the
Sure.
mechanical noise. In their backyard, adjacent to the mechanicals, is that where their deck is? Is there any kind of leisure activity to their neighbors where they're gonna be butting up against the mechanicals?
Right?
Yeah, I know, yep.
The neighbor to the east is here.
The east, yes, closest to the mechanicals. Sorry, I said west to start and I was wrong.
conversations, I have a rear deck that is in this portion. Fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Don. The aerial will kind of show their rear deck area right here along the property line. So the pool, there's they have a little pool hot tub here. Pool filter would kind of be here, and this is where the pool's kind of, in general,
So for me, the mechanicals might be a little bit of a concern for the neighbors, and while they might be here for a while, they may not be. And I'm just looking out for whoever lives there.
Were other locations considered for the mechanicals? Maybe closer to the garage?
From my design standpoint, I didn't really talk with the pool company.
Right.
But you hold on one second. You guys are fine. Or you prefer?
I prefer keeping it in the trees with the dog, because it would be away from, easier further in.
I can't pick you up on the mic, so.
So what my conversation was that the applicant would like prefer to be screened in with the existing tree line here. It would supplement any other vegetation around the equipment as possible.
Bill, can we put any more vegetative buffering between the fence and the equipment?
Depending on where the actual existing trees are, but you can put more existing trees that they planted around, fill in more holes, gaps, but screen it as much as possible.
Just as a point, you have 13 feet between the pool and the deck, and a little bit more to the auxiliary dwelling, accessory dwelling. So if you went diagonal to the northeast, it could go in that back corner, away from the neighbors, recreation area.
Yes.
Yep.
Right here.
Yep, yes.
I think that would be fine, yeah. But it's also like saying it would be more in front of the garage area? Closer to that than instead of going further away?
Instead of closer to your neighbor,
Makes
tuck it
sense.
away as far
Video
back,
can just go on.
lend them some silence.
That works for me.
And then you can
We can do trees and stuff. Make it pretty.
So,
yeah, we need to meet the 5-foot setback, so what would that do, Bill? Where would it be? Probably come in front of the garage doors,
the
right?
garage is, the edge of the garage is 1.9 feet from the property line. So another 3 foot in would start the filter, and the filter pad is about 2 or 3 foot wide. So kind of in the center, maybe the center of the garage area.
Blocking the doors.
Right.
Or we could request
Move it towards the
variance.
driveway.
Spot between the tree and the back.
So you like right in this area, right in front of the doors.
Or from where it is, move it west towards the driveway.
If you're okay with
Yeah, I mean, anywhere there would be.
it.
Make it farther away.
From there.
Go as far as you can.
Not impact the existing
Yep.
trees.
Yep.
How far can we move it over, Bill?
It looks like about 10 feet would work. without
10 feet from
impacting the trees.
10 feet from the
From the
line?
property line, so it'd be another 5 feet.
I won't speak for the board, but I think farther away for the neighbors.
Well, I think it has to comply with the distance from the pool too.
Right.
That's-
So
that's-
that will comply with the
Yeah.
pool. We're kind of just moving it laterally to the west. So instead of 5 feet, it would be 10.
It's the same distance from the pool, it's just further
Right,
from the property
off the
line.
property line.
Off the
Yeah.
property line. I think you were more concerned about visually seeing it, Dr. Leantonio. Is that your concern?
Yeah, I think the hope of just having it within the trees, and if we could kind of put more.
So
plants-
is there any way that you can enclose it to, whether you use shrubbery or some type of vinyl?
A box or something.
Polyvinyl fencing?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you can enclose it to make it more visually pleasing.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a problem.
It's gonna be moved over.
So if you could, if I could just add, if you would agree to a condition of sliding that over 10 feet, maybe putting a fence along the back of it between there and the neighbor's yard, that would be acceptable to you, so that would be a condition of approval if you're approved.
And it would, how high of a fence, just as high as the mechanic balls,
Yeah.
essentially? Oh, yeah, then that's fine. We could do plants around it, make it.
Yep.
make it
Yeah,
nice.
you could put your hydrangeas around it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a good place for them, right? That's an easy one. That's easy.
Just looking on the side of safety, I mean, that's an electrical, mechanical piece that's gonna be over there. Do you think we need to have a sign on there? Warning people that this is something electrical for someone who might come in,
Sure.
let them please stay away, electrical, unit here. Boom.
I want it as safe as possible.
Yeah, I want it as safe as possible also.
100%.
They're gonna have to comply with the building codes. So the city's inspection people will be inspecting the installation. The pool company knows when they install, they have regulations that they have to meet to the state law. So all that will be covered in the construction of the pool equipment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
If I haven't said it, I have no further questions for Bill.
Any further questions for Mr. Jensen? Board professionals, please.
Just on the record, if you could, because I was a little confused about the fencing. There was different talk about fencing. You have a detailed 4-foot high aluminum fence on your plan, that's what you intend to use?
We tend to use the 4-foot high aluminum fence in the areas of the property which need new fencing. And I believe the existing 6-foot high stockade fence, which is pool compliant, will be utilized where they can.
So the existing fence that it's gonna remain,
Along
it's on your property,
Correct.
not your neighbor's property.
So I'll clear that up. So all existing fences, 6-foot high stockade on the applicant's property, they intend to use. Any fencing that's not on their property, they will be replacing, or any new fencing with the aluminum, decorative aluminum fence that we show on the plan. So along the rear and some portions on the rear and the side, some of the fencing is the neighbor's fencing. We'll have our own fencing.
Okay, and then the gate in the driveway. I'm a little concerned with that opening and close. It's supposed to be self-closed.
Oh, correct.
And that will be,
So, yeah, as part of their final inspections, they have to ensure that they're going to be pool compliant and self-closing fences.
so pulling cars in and out, you're gonna, if you wanna go past the gate, you gotta get out of your car, open the gate, pull in, close the gate behind you.
Correct.
Okay.
Jerry,
Currently, that's how we
is the-
do it. That's how we do it.
So the 4-foot fence across the front of the property, that's pool compliant at
Yes.
4 feet?
Yep.
It's a pool compliant fence is a 4-foot high, and there's certain gaps that they have to meet, that they check
So
during the
is it-
construction.
Is it only the fencing in the back that's not theirs that we're talking about fixing?
There's some in the back corner,
Yeah,
yeah, but it's nothing in the front.
right, because I just looked at the
Yeah, it's only
photos.
in the back corner.
Okay.
Any further questions, board professionals, for Mr. Jensen? Anyone in the public for Mr. Jensen's testimony only? Questions for Mr. Jensen? Thank you, Mr. Jensen.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Mr. Miguel?
No.
Okay. So at this point, we normally will open it up to the public for comment.
You're on. Okay, now since you're gonna testify, raise your right hand. Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about giving this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name for the record, spell it, and give us your address.
My name is Britta Ibri, B-R-I-T-T-A. I, P as in Peter, R-I, and I live at 1215 4th Avenue in Asbury Park.
And your property is to the east of the subject property?
That's correct, that's correct.
Thank
Could you just speak up a little bit so we can hear you?
Sure.
Okay, floor is yours.
Thank you. I just want to say that Nick and John have our full support in this application. I also want to say that I really appreciate the thoughtfulness of everyone on the zoning board and your questions and your consideration. And they're great neighbors and great members of our 4th Avenue community, and we fully support their application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the public, either for or against this application? Seeing none, I will close public comment now.
Okay.
All right, so it's up to the board to deliberate and then to vote. Anybody have any comments in regards to this particular application?
So I still have a concern, even after all the testimony, that this is still your front yard. And you're still putting a pool or wanting to put a pool in your front yard. Even though you've got the tree cover, it's still a pool in the front yard, which, as you know, you need a variance because it's against the ordinance. So I still have a concern with the application because of the location in the yard.
Anyone else?
I'm going to second that. Even with the willingness to move certain things around, I'm struggling with the front yard placement of the pool. I'm struggling. It's far enough back, but yet it's still a front yard placement. I think I'll end there.
Anyone else for comment?
Do you have a comment?
So, my colleagues are concerned about the fact that it's a pool in the front yard. I understand their concern because, other people are going to look to see how we address this particular situation. Regardless, we're supposed to see every application on its own merits, no matter what it is. But on the other hand, it's sort of like, it's difficult for us because this is violation of an ordinance that normally we would just say no. Your property is kind of unusual in that it's essentially a front yard only. But you bought the house that way, Dr. Leontonio, and you knew that. You knew that that's the way your property was, and you liked it that way. So now you're telling us that you don't really like it completely that way. That you need something else to make it more likable. So we have to consider that in our deliberation and make our own minds up about how we feel about that. Personally, I'm like, well, I'd like a pool too. But my property doesn't allow that. So just as they are having difficulty in this, I am as well. And it's something that we have to wrestle with ourselves in this particular application. For us to say that your hardship is the fact that you have a huge front yard and no backyard. Is that a hardship, or is that something that you wanted?
That's a hardship. From a zoning perspective, that's a hardship.
But,
I'm giving you the law, you decide what you're gonna do. That's not, that's the, no matter what the applicant did wrong with the house, that's the existing topography.
all right, I stand
of
corrected.
that house. No matter who owns that house, that's the way it's gonna be. So,
I stand corrected, thank you,
other than
Jack.
that, keep going. Other than that, I'm not gonna give you a word.
Okay, so your hardship is your front yard. I don't know how I feel about it. And I would be lying if I said that I don't feel the same way to some degree as my colleagues. But that being said, we have to make a decision. So, do we have a motion for this particular application?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the application.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Now, if you're gonna make a motion to approve, we'll reiterate the conditions that I have that we discussed. All right, that, pool equipment is going to be moved to a location that's at least, I think it was 10 feet. I have
Off the
10 from
property
record,
line.
Off the property line, and it's gonna be enclosed with a 4-foot fence. Any new fencing that's proposed is going to be code compliant 4 feet. Existing fences to remain, if they remove any of the fences that belong to them that encroach on neighbors' properties, they're going to replace them on their own.
Correct.
That's what I.
Well, there's
And then
also-
remove the shed.
The shed,
And there's no additional patio around the pool as well.
Right. Let the records stipulate there's not gonna be additional
okay.
supplemental coping or patio surrounding the pool.
They also said they would remove part of the existing wood deck that goes on the neighbor's property
Right.
and pull it back even with the rear of the house.
I knew there was one with the.
And the leads are
There was
on
one.
the, go ahead, Tim.
No, there was another one about maintaining the green screen so you don't see it from the street. Because the way I understand this application, from the street, you read a green front yard, and then all that stuff, because the property is set so far back. Because I'm struggling with this application myself, but I'm like, how does it affect the neighborhood? How does it affect the neighbors? I'm trying to contextualize this because when this application came in the mail and I'm reading it, I'm like, hell no. But after understanding it, I understand better. So, but
Right,
that
and
that
they
was
did
one of the
testify that
conditions.
they were gonna maintain
Yes.
the existing trees and adjust the stormwater piping
Right.
so that
Yes.
the trees would be retained and
Correct.
protected.
Because
And
it likes
they're
its
gonna
privacy,
maintain that
so-
buffer along the side property line, so that's the other condition.
Yes. Trees have to be maintained.
Jack, did we
And
get the
Donna-
fence?
Donna and Jack, for clarification, because of the new ordinance of preserving trees, should anything be taken down, it has to be replaced.
That can be a condition, under
Yes.
the ordinance, they can pay a fee, but if you wanna make a condition that it has to be replaced on site, it can
It
be a
should be
condition.
replaced on site.
Jack, did we get the fence? Jerry, you said another fence by the pool equipment, correct?
Well, I had mentioned to consider a fence behind the pool equipment as a buffer. to
As
the
another
neighbor
buffer.
on the east.
Right, a 4-foot fence?
I have a 4-foot fence around the pool equipment.
I think that's up to-
Around, but
Yeah,
at least
just at least
along
on
the
the
back.
side.
Yeah,
Okay,
because they're gonna need access to the equipment
Yes.
and everything.
Do we get the leads as well, Jack? From the, I guess from the
So the
garage
roof leaders
structure?
on the garage
Garage,
structure are gonna
yeah.
tie in.
Right.
yeah, that's all part of his testimony. I don't think that, he has to do that.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Scott, ready for a vote?
If you are,
This is a motion to approve with these conditions. Dan?
Vote yes.
Okay. Jill?
Yes.
Christopher?
I'll go last.
Okay. John?
No.
Tim?
Yes.
Christopher?
Reluctantly, yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Appreciate you. Yeah.
It is. So I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Second.
John, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Yes.